Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys for Monday, June 4th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. We're ready to break it down. It's the Vegas Golden Knights and Washington Capitals. Washington up 2-1. We're either going to have Washington with a commanding 3-1 lead in this series or Vegas tying it up, forcing a best of 3 as we head back to Game 5. We'll find out tonight. We're going to try to break it down for you, joined by Andrew McGinnis, Alex B. Smith, and now Dana Lane as well. So great to have everybody on board here for this Game 4 breakdown. Let's go around the horn first and get other people's opinion first. I've already been on the air today. Nobody needs to hear me for an extended amount of time to begin the show. Let's go to Dana first, since he just joined in. Vegas and Washington, Game 4. It's Washington up 2-1. I'll give my take on it a little bit. We know Vegas is going to go through some lineup changes. Thomas Tatar's in. I like that move. Alex Tuch's up to the second line. I like that move. We'll see what it does for the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. What does Dana Lane think it's going to do for the Vegas Golden Knights tonight? Dana, Game 4, what do you think?
Well, I mean, guys, they have to do something to shake things up. I think this speaks to the bigger picture of what Vegas is going to do with David Perron in the offseason. The guy just turned 30 years old. He's a UFA along with James Neal. And unlike James Neal, he's a definite not come back for next season. I've heard rumblings enamored with him. I know at times I felt like he's kind of floated. So this is really telling me not only does Gallant think that he's kind of the issue with that, but they also think, I would think this offseason that he will be playing his hockey somewhere else. But from tonight's perspective, guys, it is real simple for this team. They have to score first. They have to get ahead first. And then if they're able to do that, then they can play a dump and chase game. But dump and chase is only good if you win battles along the boards. And I think I think it's extremely important to get opportunities in the low slot area, which they just have not been doing. In fact, they're not inside the slot area at all. Washington's making it very difficult for them to get through the neutral zone. And then once they puck to the middle of the ice has almost been non-existent. Now both teams, guys, have not Washington would rather trap. They would rather, force you into a difficult entry. They haven't always done that, but when they have, it's been extremely effective. But there have been times where, quite honestly, in the third period, this was an up and down hockey game. The other thing too is they got to get some damn shots on net. Stop trying to go glove hand on this guy. This is a guy that gives up a ton of rebounds. So why are they not shooting the puck low? I understand what the book is on Holtby, but believe me, if you have the book, then Holtby has the book too. So just get the pucks to the net, because 20 shots on goal is not going to cut it tonight.
Totally agree. It's time to shoot for the pads. Shoot at the pads, because a lot of times the puck is going to bounce right back off those pads of Braden Holtby into the slot area, and you're going to have a second or even a third chance opportunity in those instances. We didn't see enough of that. They just seemed to look for a pretty pass, look for an extra little move. You look at Cody Eakin's chance where he was just trying to go for that extra little move, and what do you know? He ran out of racetrack, shot the puck wide. It's just get the puck on the goalie, so that you give yourself that opportunity maybe for a second or third chance here. I think Vegas has got to use that mindset. Obviously, Dana alluded to dump and chase, chip and chase kind of game. I think you're going to see that more tonight, puck retrieval type of attack for the Vegas Golden Knights, because let's be honest, the neutral zone was turned into an absolute, complete, and utter quagmire by the Washington Capitals in Game 3. And once they got that lead, it was very difficult to make any passes through the middle of the ice, get any kind of speed through the neutral zone. So I think you're going to see Vegas try to go that way tonight. Andrew, what are your thoughts on Game 4 tonight with the Golden Knights and the Caps?
I think it's how important it was for Capitals to win one there in Vegas, to go back home to take care of the first game in Washington, D.C. And all of a sudden, we're starting to realize that this Washington team doesn't have things all the time. And I think that's the most important thing about this team right now, is that they don't try and do that. Don't try and make too many fancy plays. Go for those top shelf goals all the time. If you guys take a look at the goal that Ovechkin scored, I've been preaching this all playoffs. The playoffs aren't all about the highlights. It's all about the gritty, getting to the dirty areas, finding yourself in front of the net, making the right play, and sacrificing yourself in order to do so. And I think if you look at Ovechkin's goal and the way that the Capitals played collectively in that whole third period, even, they did that exactly. And I think that realistically, this Capitals team, it's not that they wanted it more. Obviously, both teams want it, but I think the effort that they put out and the way that they did it was a lot cleaner, was a lot smarter than what we saw with this Vegas team. So I think this Vegas team's kind of getting away from their identity in the last 2 games. They know how much skill they have now, but I think they have to keep running all 4 lines, keep getting the puck deep. They got to just fire the puck on net. Like Dana said, they're going too high, always got to get low, go for rebounds. And I think, again, like Dana mentioned about Perron and everybody else, we got to stop relying on the top line. I mean, Ian, you mentioned Tuck moving up to the second line and different guys like that. But I think that, first of all, we can't expect Fleury to be the man every single night. I mean, we can't expect him to stop 30, 35 shots every single night and have these amazing nights. So I think ultimately when it comes down to it, tonight, I believe Vegas has to get on the board first. They have to silence that crowd. They have to come out hitting, checking hard. They have to have control of this game. If I was to bet on a total in this game, I would say in Vegas's factor, I'd want it to be under. But collectively, I think build up to this game. It's work towards both teams. I think are going to have a lot of shots tonight. And it's going to be a very, very busy game. So we'll move more towards our picks a little bit later on. But I think that Capitals done a great job of heading home, taking care of business, and collectively as a team shutting down this Vegas team defensively.
Yeah, with all due respect to that 4th line, Thomas Nosek and Belmar, that group with Ryan Reeves, hey, their effort's been superlative. It's been stupendous here in this series, but that shouldn't be the line that's carrying your team offensively at any point. That's just not the way it should be for Vegas. And hey, we're seeing it. I mean, finally, Riley Smith, Jonathan Marchessault, and William Karlsson are like the naughty dog owners when they put the muzzle on the dog. I mean, it's like where they've finally been caught, they've finally been simmered down, and now you're looking at a situation here where they've finally been shut down or at least neutralized a little bit the last game or two, and now you're looking at other parts of this Vegas forward group to step up. The James Neal line is the one I'm targeting tonight. I think that line was not happy at all the way they played in game number 3. James Neal in particular really took it hard, saying our line was, he didn't say the word stunk, but that's basically what he was alluding to in his post-game quotes. We were not good. We need to be better. I need to be better. And he gave you that vow that, hey, we're going to come in here. We're going to tie this series up. And I like that. That's a bet-on quote to me. That's not a quote of frustration. That's not a quote of woe is us or the series is over. That's focus. That's motivation. That's saying we've got each other's back. I like that quote that he said, James Neal, as well. We're not throwing anyone under the bus. We're not going to get frustrated. We're not going to get angry. That's just showing motivation and focus going into tonight, which I think you will see in a supreme way from the Golden Knights as they try to avoid a 3-1 deficit. Alex B. Smith, initial thoughts here. Game 4 tonight with the Golden Knights and the Capitals.
Well, a quote I saw on Twitter, and I retweeted it immediately. It was from Jonathan Marchessault. He says, "This is a must-win game for us." I couldn't agree with him more in this spot. You don't want to go down 3-1, even if you are returning back home. All the momentum that they had built up in game 1 and even game 2, like we talked about, both teams played well in games 1 and 2. Just how it happened that Vegas won the first one and Washington was able to escape the second. But Vegas had, in my opinion, more momentum even going into DC for game 3. And then we saw the Capitals just completely take all of the momentum and all the pressure that we saw on the Capitals kind of faded a little bit. They seemed really comfortable and relaxed in that game, and that's why they end up winning that contest. And we talk about, yes, Vegas getting really kind of fancy and try to be a little too cute with the passing and shots and shooting up high. They weren't shooting low for a reason. It was because they had 26 blocked shots by the Washington Capitals. You had literally everybody. Even Alexander Ovechkin was on the stat sheet with a couple of blocks as well. So when you got guys sacrificing the body, that's key this time of year, you got to be you have to play a two-way game, whether it's part of your game year-round or not. That's going to, put a dent in some things. And, of course, the thing that I've pointed out, and at the risk of sounding like a broken record every game we've talked about these two teams, Washington getting the cross-ice passing in Vegas' zone between the circles. The Lars Eller goal was a prime example, once again, of Fleury and all the defensemen being completely out of position and Eller burying the puck in an empty net. So the more we keep seeing Washington be successful with that cross-ice passing, the more they're going to probably continue to score. Like I said, all the momentum is on their side tonight. If Vegas is going to, stay in the series, they have to win tonight. But I don't know if that's going to exactly be the case. But I do think we're going to see a lot of up and down play as far as scoring is concerned both ways. And like I said, we'll talk about that pick a little bit later on. But it should be an interesting contest, just like you've seen the previous three.
Yeah, we've got Tomar in the chat saying this seems like a game where it'll go down to the wire. Could be value in the draw. Yeah, I could see a tight game. I could totally see that. If you have the overtime prop, yes or no, Or the other way to do that is, of course, three-way money line, and you bet the draw option with that. Those are your two ways of betting it to be a tie after regulation. So I could see that happening, because I think Vegas knows it's going to be a game that they really want to get this back to 2-2 and flip home ice back in their favor, whereas Washington wants to put their foot down, go up 3-1, take a commanding lead in this series. So I think for that reason, I think there's going to be hard for these two teams to gain separation, especially when you're talking about two goalies that are playing well. Marc-Andre Fleury for the Vegas Golden Knights, and then, as Don Cherry in his latest kerfuffle said, bribe him Holtley for the Washington Capitals. So, but both goalies have been playing very, very well here in this series. A little bit better out of Holtby than what we've seen so far from Marc-Andre Fleury, but Fleury certainly can pick it up a little bit. So going into picks and plays for this game, look, I'm going down with the ship. I said this earlier with Teddy on the Sports Bit show. I'm going down with the ship. I said Vegas is going to win this series. I said 6 or 7. I thought it would be close. It would be long. Washington's not going to make it easy on them. So win or lose, got to ride with Vegas here. I like the quotes saying that they're going to be more aggressive. I like the lineup changes that Gerard Gallant's making. I've always said for many, many shows now in a row, get Alex Tuch up to that second line. I think David Perron's not done anything, none, zero for me offensively here in these playoffs. So I think that's the right move. Get Alex Tuch up there on the second line. Hey, remember Thomas Tatar? The last time Gerard Gallant put him into the lineup in that first game against Winnipeg, what happened? He scored a goal. So, I think Thomas Tatar, it's time for him. Bring a little injection of speed, get a little injection of playmaking ability, passing ability, a little extra finish. We know Thomas Tatar has proven he can score goals at the NHL level, going back to his days with the Detroit Red Wings. So let's get that in there. Let's see if he can maybe be a potential game breaker for us going into a game 4. So I like the lineup changes. They're trying to push for more offense. These are offensive-minded, offensive-influenced changes. So for me, I'm going to go with Vegas plus the $1.10, plus the $1.15, and I can now get a plus price to go over the 5.5, and that's the way I'm going to go as well. If Vegas is going to win tonight, I think they're going to have to score some goals. I think they're going to be capable of scoring some goals with these lineup changes that I think are going to be a positive, not a negative for them tonight. So Vegas plus 110 in that range, and also Vegas, Washington over 5.5, also around plus 105 to plus 110 in this game tonight. Those will be the side and total plays that I look at here in game number 4. Like I said, I'm sticking with Vegas until there is no tomorrow for them, and I think you get, win or lose, the best of what the Golden Knights have to offer here in game 4 tonight. Alex, back to you. Game 4, official selections, if you got any. What are you looking at?
Yeah, as far as side and total goes, like I said, I'm going with the total over 5.5 as well. I can get it, like I said, plus 110. I got it yesterday, and I was glad to see it go back up in that plus range. I thought you saw some money coming in, kind of moving that a little bit, but over 5.5 plus 110. I think both teams. I think this game's going to look a lot more like game 1 than it has game 2 and 3. I think we're going to see some good offensive chances both ways. I think we're going to see teams playing their game, not so much trying to focus on neutralizing the other's strengths and weaknesses, but it's just two teams going to be playing their game once again, and I think we're going to see quite a few goals go in. I don't know if we're going to see 10 like we saw exactly in game 1, but I think Vegas gets off the Schneider as far as this offensive slump goes with the changes they're making in their lineups, and I think Washington, like I said, they keep finding that those passing lanes open in the opposing zone. They're going to score 2 or 3 on their own. So, like I said, and that overtime prop looks a little juicy. I might think about jumping in on that possibly, but over 5.5 for sure is definitely my play. And one thing I was looking at too, I know we're going to be talking about some of the player props. The couple I had circled was Lars Eller plus 130 for over a half of a goal or assist, and Jonathan Marchessault at plus 175, the same prop, over a half for either a goal or assist. I think those are two guys. Eller's been in the mix in all 3 games, had the goal and 2 assists. He's a guy, even though you don't count on him to score often, but in this series so far, he's proven to be a key role offensively. So a plus 130, I think it's a decent price. And Marchessault, like I said, the quote that he had, this is a must-win game for us. So he's a guy who's got to really stand up. And, if he's the one in the locker room leading the charge, say, hey, we got to win this game tonight, guys. Let's, we got to pick our shit up and go. Well, you can prove it by putting a point on the board, be it on a goal or assist, and at plus 175, some really good value there. Yeah,
good props. Very good. Good insight there for sure. Yeah, I mean, Vegas definitely has to have that, throw that puck at the net kind of mindset early and often tonight. One thing about the total too that kind of, like with regards to the over, why I think it's a good way to look too, is you had there were power play opportunities in game 3. I mean, it's not like the whistle was tight. I mean, we had 6 power play opportunities between the two teams, and they combined 0 for 6 with the man advantage there. in that last game. So from my standpoint, the way I look at it is, can you really count on goose eggs on both teams with the man advantage for another game here? I think one of them is going to get on the board from a power play standpoint, at least here tonight in game 4. That's a little bit of a correction, I think, that might happen here tonight in this 4th game. Andrew McGinnis, let's get to you. What wagering options on the menu have piqued your interest tonight here for game number 4?
Yeah, I think, first of all, just another thought on the game. I think, first of all, Vegas has to get on the board first. They have to keep the puck out of their own end a lot more. Excuse me. And they have to really control the pace offensively, I think. I mean, we got back, and Dana and I are talking about how fast of a team this is, how this team can get the puck deep and really control it, move the puck around, cycle it. And I think we've gotten away from that. And I think that, we all talked about it collectively, how it wouldn't be a factor for Vegas, heading to Washington. We didn't think the travel factor would be too bad. I mean, the games were going to be at the same time relatively than they were playing it before. But I think if you look at it, even though they did handle a lot of teams on the road throughout their playoffs, I do think that settling into this next game here, I mean, they take care of this game and they head back to Vegas. They're feeling pretty great. So, I look at that last game, and I know Alex and I were both looking at the under in the first period. And oddly enough, I was looking at the over in the second period. So, it doesn't always work out as great like that, but it was nice that we kind of had a low-scoring first period. It wasn't too much action, and then all of a sudden, some stuff breaks out. The Capitals go for 2 goals in the second period. So I'm going for another kind of a weird play like that tonight with the third period total over. At Bookmaker, you can get over 1.5 at -136. It's a very weird price for a third period total at most places, like 5 dimes. You see it there at the number at -150, but I think this will be a game that goes right until the end, guys. I think it'll be one of those ones where these teams are going to be trading goals. It's going to be a very, very close contest in my eyes. I do agree with you guys. The score could get up there tonight. But again, I do think that Vegas will have to buckle down defensively and show this Washington team who's boss. But again, if I have Bookmaker, you use SBR odds, you shop around at -135 over 1.5 for third period goals totals. I'll take that gladly.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you got a tie game going into the third, there's a go-ahead goal at some point in the first 10 minutes, you're all of a sudden a big-time favorite to cash in over 1.5 third period. You're going to get the goalie out on one of these two sides. So that's definitely, that's not a bad price. Usually there's more juice to that over 1.5 in the third period than that. So from a bargain price standpoint, that's a better price than you normally get on that kind of third period totals wager. Dana, what about you from a betting standpoint here with game 4?
Just a real quick thing. You were talking about special teams and power plays, and wouldn't it be great? I always kind of wondered, the players have to come out and pay the piper to the media and talk about their mistakes all the time. Why doesn't Wes McCauley have to come out there and answer for his mistakes or, for his crew's mistakes? Because I have to tell you, when there's a cross check right in front of you and you fail to call it, I mean, the cross check is the new tapping of 2018, and they absolutely will not call anything until somebody has to actually pick their teeth up off the ice. I mean, the amount of non-calls or keeping the whistle in the back of their pocket is just it's and I understand this is the postseason, but I would love to be in that meeting where somebody said, look, guys, now we're not going to call this the same way we did in the regular season, kind of like how probably somebody had the meeting going into the regular season, how we're not going to call that face-off penalty that looks stupid in the exhibition season. So as far as the game is tonight, look, it's real simple. The way you can tell who mentally is where they need to be and who isn't is access into the offensive zone. What team backs off and allows the opposing team easy entry, and what team sits up at the blue line and says, we dare you to beat us? Well, the Washington Capitals certainly were at the blue line daring Vegas to beat them with their speed. And speed doesn't always mean that every player on every line is going to be faster than the players that they're going up against. Because honestly, I don't think that second and third line is any faster than Washington's. And in fact, it might be a second slower. Of course, when you're playing with confidence and you're putting guys up in the neutral zone or at the blue line, you're forcing guys to kind of slow down, granted, but it is extremely important that they get some sort of penetration out of that second and third line, meaning Cody Eakin for sure. They are getting eaten up. That third line is getting eaten up. And I'll tell you another thing too, and I know we're short on time, I think, to give you a little insight of what Gerard Gallant thinks and what he thinks about his second and third line. When 50 seconds to go in game 2 in a 1-goal game, what line did he have out on the ice for another 30 seconds? He had the 4th line out on the ice. Well, that tells you a little bit about, and I understand he's very systematic, and he doesn't have a true, in his mind, 4 lines. But to me, you got to have your best players out for the last minute. And at that time, he thought his 4th line was his best players, which they absolutely were. But if you go down the middle of the Washington Capitals, Jay Beagle, Eller, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, all easy entry into the offensive zone. That must stop tonight. If they stop that and force the puck to go to the perimeter, I think Vegas has a better chance of winning this game. But certainly, I will take them with the plus price tonight.
Yep, there we go. Vegas for Dana Lane at the underdog price. Yeah, it's not just about speed with the forwards. We're not talking about just skating speed. It's about putting the puck in areas where you can go get it kind of speed. And that's also something that we're going to see if the Vegas Golden Knights can win those battles. They're going to have to maybe chip it in. Go win a one-on-one battle on the boards. Crush your guy into the boards and get that puck that's sitting there right lodged against the backboards. That's what they're going to have to do.
One more thing about that, Ian. It's so important. I know it's difficult for a young player. Know when to pinch and when not to pinch. And if you're a team that is worried that you may not have the speed advantage, I'm telling you, worry about your defensive assignment rather than trying to pinch. And that's what happened to Theodore on the Smith-Pelly goal.
Yeah, not a good night for him. I think he got ripped a little bit, but he's had a good season. That was unfortunate. Oh, yeah, everyone has a bad night, and that was a bad night for Shea Theodore. Responsible, unfortunately, for 2 of the Washington goals. We know the goal that put it away in the 3rd period gave Washington that 2-goal lead back again, 3-1. Was him not being able to clear the puck out, got it stolen from him, and then a pass out in front. Right there to us, Devontae Smith-Pelly, who put it away, and Washington gets that 3-1 game. So 3-1 win. So that's all about everybody stepping up. Again, that 4th line's been miraculous, but we need that top line. We need that 2nd line. We need that 3rd line to get going. So it's one of those situations where it's all about the big guns for Vegas. So from a goal scoring prop, before we recap picks and we wrap things up, Marchessault's a good one. Alex mentioned that. That's worth a look. My big one's James Neal. He's talking the talk right now going into this game about, I got to be better. I stunk. My line stunk. We're going in there. We're tying this series. That's bet on all the way. I think James Neal makes an impact tonight. Good chance I think he could make an impact on the scoreboard. So at plus 210, James Neal to score anytime tonight, absolutely. Sign me up. James Neal plus 210 to score a goal anytime tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. Love that goal scorers prop for Game 4 here tonight. Alex B. Smith, recap of your picks before we sign off.
Yep, I'm going over 5.5 plus 110. Jonathan Marchessault score a goal plus 175, and Lars Eller to get 1/2 over a goal or assist at plus 130.
All right, Andrew, last recap of your plays tonight.
Yeah, I do think that Vegas will respond. I'm on Vegas, take the plus price. I'm also on the over in the 3rd period at minus 135. You don't see a price like that too often for a 3rd period total at minus 135 over the 1.5 goals. And honestly, I would lean as well on the Vegas team total over as well. You can get that at Pinnacle at over 2.5. So look at those 3 plays for my plays for tonight.
All right, good stuff. Dana Lane, recap plays for tonight.
No, the only thing for me is definitely the Golden Knights tonight with the plus money. But interesting point to your James Neal thing. This is, with him being a UFA, there is no time like the present to make money. So if he comes up with a huge game tonight, boy, that is adding a lot of money and maybe a few more years onto a deal that he might want to get, where some other teams are only willing to maybe give him 3, maybe 4 years. But I'm sure if I'm in James Neal's camp, I'm looking for a 5 to 7 year deal.
Yeah, a good point. This is a game. This is the kind of games that's put your thumbnail and thumbprint down there about, hey, this is what I can do for a team in a big spot. This is a big spot. This is no bigger spot for the Vegas Golden Knights than the one they're in tonight. And if James Neal responds in a big way, that's going to turn some heads throughout the NHL managerial world, without a doubt. So interesting to see how he plays it. For me, as I said, I'm on Vegas plus the $110, the over 5.5 plus 110 in that range as well. And also looking at Neal and Marchessault goal scoring props tonight to get on the board, especially Neal. A little bit more on Neal plus 210. I really like that one quite a bit. All right, guys, that's going to wrap things up. Great show. Game 4 tonight. It's a big one. Hope everybody enjoys the game. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday. Remember, the start time on Wednesdays is a little bit later. We'll be on at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time with our next edition of the NHL Ice Guys as we break down Game 5 of this series, which will take place on Thursday night back at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. So we're on the air Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific with our Game 5 Stanley Cup Finals edition of the NHL Ice Guys. For Alex B. Smith, Andrew McGinnis, and Dana Lane, I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Enjoy Game 4 tonight, and we'll see you again on Wednesday.